The Four Guardians. Prologue. Kanahagakure no Sato. Home to many powerful legends. For starters, the Shodaime Hokage was known to be the only shinobi to ever use Mokuton, wood, element jutsus. This ability was even able to subdue the Bijou. Second is the Shodaime's most powerful enemy and founder of the Uchiha clan and the wielders of one of the World 3 Dujutsu, I technique, the Sharingan. And this man's name was Uchiha Madara and was the only Uchiha to ever possess the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. His eyes had the ability to control the Bijou. Third is the Nidaime, second, Hokage, the Shodaime's younger brother, and he, like his brother, also had a special ability. He was able to hone his Suiton, water, element jutsus to the highest possible level. He was able to cast a Suiton jutsu with just the water molecules in the air. Something no one has been able to do. Fourth is the three legendary Sannin, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. There has only been one shinobi that has been able to beat them 3-on-1. A man by the name of Hanzo the Salamander, and funnily enough it was this man that gave them the title Sannin. After he beat them, of course. Fifth is the Yondaime, fourth, Hokage, also known as Kiroi Senko, Yellow Flash, and he was the inventor of the famous Hiraishin, Flying Thunder God, and the equally famous Rasengan. Of course, who could forget that he was a seal master? After all, he would have to be one and able to use one of the most powerful seals known to the world, Shiki Fuin. Last is Uzumaki Kushina, Minato's wife, the Red Death, prankster queen, ramen freak, and pregnant. Konoha village location, Konoha Hospital. Uzumaki Kushina was bored, pregnant, but bored. Her water broke 30 hours ago. So you could imagine how bored the hyperactive ramen freak actually was. Sure, she was bored, but she was angry too. Angry because her husband, Minato Namikaze, hadn't come to visit her yet. Being Hokage and all, he was stuck at his desk dealing with the all-important bane of every Kage's existence. Yep, paperwork. She was also angry at the fact that Tsunade, Sannin, had just informed her that the characters in Jiraiya's latest ICHA book were in fact based of her and her, Kushina, and Minato. Add to that, the sex scenes in said book were also based of her and Minato as well. And that brings us to... What? Wait. Tsunade, how do you know that? Kushina asked. Well, why, you know, Jiraiya's MIT teammate and I have to support him with our reading his books. Tsunade replied with really noticeable sweat pouring down her face. As if Tsunade. I think you enjoy reading how Minato-kun and I have sex. Now, even though I'm sure my pervert husband wouldn't mind the fact that you do, I have to tell you that I think it's really hot that you like reading about my hot sweaty body on top of Minato's, with my brie dash. Before she could continue, Jiraiya himself came through the window. What he saw, though, was something he didn't really expect coming from these two women. Silence. Tsunade had a tomato-sized blush on her face, with a small nosebleed. Kushina, on the other hand, was shaking, trying to suppress the urge to laugh. Ladies, what's going on?" he asked them. At that question, Tsunade and Kushina both looked at each other for a moment. That was until Tsunade thought about what Kushina was going to say, and then she went flying backward with a massive shot of blood coming from her nose. And all Kushina could do was roar with laughter. Jiraiya just stood there shocked until he noticed that her right breast had popped out of her kimono. So, with a perverted giggle, he pulled out his research notepad and started writing down some notes, with a highly amused Kushina looking on. "I wouldn't do that to Tsunade, if I were you, Erosenin, remember the hot springs?" Minato asked as he too came through the window. Both Minato and Kushina couldn't help but giggle when Jiraiya had anime-style tears streaming down his face, muttering something about disrespectful brats, big-breasted teammates, and pregnant tomatoes. Now, even though she was pregnant, Kushina could still move pretty fast. That was proven by the fact that she punched Jiraiya straight out of the window both men came in from. with Jiraiya. Unfortunately or fortunately for him, he landed in the women's side of the hot springs. Some men may consider that heaven. Those men always seem to forget the fact that the group of soaking wet, naked women might get extremely pissed off at the fact that a man was on the women's side. Such is the case for the well-known, self-proclaimed super pervert. Before he could even bring out his notebook, he could feel the killing intent, ki, leaking off of the women. The poor man's girlish screams could be heard all over Konoha. Before he lost consciousness, his last thought was, who wouldn't want to be this close to a group of wet naked women, a heaven? Back at the hospital. While Minato and Kushina were chatting away discussing names for their soon-to-be newborn son, they heard Tsunade groan as she was coming to. "Welcome back, Haim," said Minato with perverted smile as he saw Tsunade's breast was still out. However, the only thing Tsunade could do with her still perverted thoughts was to take one look at Kushina and blush, then take one look at Minato for a moment and then pass out with another nosebleed. Kushina just giggled perversely, although she did feel a little guilty with her friend's current predicament. Minato, well, he too let out a perverted giggle because he saw Tsunade's breast. He then took out his own notebook and started taking down notes. After all, how else could Jiraiya get information about their sex life? That lasted until he saw that Tsunade's other breast had popped out of her kimono when she had landed. The man couldn't help but fly backward with a nosebleed. Subsequently, though, he flew straight out the window when he too landed in the women's side of the hot springs. However, this time, when the women saw who it was, they glomped him and kept him in the water. With a big perverted grin, he winked at the now recovered and currently crying Sannin. The next day, Konoha Village location, Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the now retired Sandaime, 3rd Hokage, was in the office of the Yondaime, waiting for said person to arrive. He wasn't just sitting there, OHNO, he was reading the latest edition of ICHI Paradise, Tomato. Because he was so absorbed in the book, he didn't even notice that the man he was waiting for jumped through the window, sat down and pulled out his own copy. 30 minutes later. The Sandaime looked up from his book and the only thing he could do was yelp in surprise when he saw Minato sitting in his chair reading. "What the hell?" he screamed. "How long have you been sitting there?" he asked, still trying to recover from the almost heart attack. About half an hour," Minato replied with a smile. "Cough, anyway, how's Kushina-chan doing?" asked Hiruzen. "She's doing well, even though she's currently bored and suffering from the lack of Ichiraku's best," Minato said with an amused look. "That's good," said a chuckling Hiruzen, before he pulled out his pipe, filled it and lit it with an E-ranked Katun fire jutsu. With a serious, yet not so much look, he said, "Good work on gaining that peace treaty with Suna, Sand, Minato-Okuan." "Thanks, Gigi. But you know as well as I do it wasn't that hard to gain. They still haven't fully recovered from the war, so it's not they really had much choice in the matter." Have you and Kushina worked out a name for your son yet?" the god of shinobi asked with a change of topic. "No, not yet." "May I suggest a name then?" Jiraiya asked as he came through the window and face-planted, all thanks to a well-placed chair from Hiruzen that he tripped over still in mid-air. "Why not, Sensei?" Minato shrugged. "How about you name him Naruto?" "You mean like that character from your first and only non-perverted book?" asked Tsunade as she came through the door like a normal person. However, everyone noticed that when looked at Minato, she couldn't hide the blush on her face. Hiruzen was the only one though who didn't know what was going on, so he came to the only logical, to him, conclusion: something perverted happened. Jiraiya just smiled knowingly. Minato, however, winked at her and she couldn't help but turn a deeper shade of red. However, it was at that moment that both Jiraiya and Minato both remembered seeing Tsunade's breasts and they too sported blushes. When Tsunade saw them blush, she remembered that her breasts had popped out at the hospital, so she decided to punch Jiraiya through the wall he was leaning on. When she turned on Minato, she took one look at him and blushed. "Don't worry, Yondaime-sama," she said seductively as she arched her back only to cause Minato blush as her breasts jiggled a little. I won't do the same thing to you, that is if you come drinking with me tonight, she said with a smirk as she saw the blush. Okay, Haim, was his intelligent reply as he was still staring at her chest. Hey, how come he can call you Haim, but every time I do, you punch me? Asked the miraculously recovered Jiraiya. The next morning. October 10th, a day to be remembered for 4 particular reasons. Minato woke up with a half-naked Tsunade cuddling up to him. Jiraiya managed to get a few pictures and some research notes on the sensually and sexually done striptease that Tsunade had performed for Minato the night before. Naruto was finally going to be born. Knock knock, Yandame-sama, please come to your office, it's an emergency. In the office 10 minutes later. How sure are you about this information, Tenzu-san? Minato asked, holding his head, feeling the effects of the hangover. Very sure, Hokage-sama, I even went to the location to confirm it. The Kyuubi no Yoko is on its way here. And it will get here tonight. Right at that moment, despite the serious situation, he couldn't help but smile as he remembered what happened the night before. Which caused the entire room to look at him like he had just grown a second head. Meanwhile, Jiraiya just looked at him with a knowing smile and giggled, causing everyone to take a step away from the two men and think, what the fuck? Tell all civilians to evacuate through the cave hidden behind the Hokage monument. With Kyuubi. The night before. I got bored today, HOI, ASF. What is this? She thought with a horror-struck expression on her face as she looked around her den and saw what was her worst nightmare. Her kits and her mate were all dead. That's when she saw a couple of dead snakes next to her mate. So, you finally show up, said a voice that belonged to a man. She whirled around and the first thing she saw was a pair of red eyes with 3 black circles that were connected by a black ring and 3 bars on the outside of the ring itself in between the circles. She tried to attack him but found that her body wasn't moving. I see you've discovered that you can't control your body. I'm afraid that that's my fault. The man said with a small chuckle. Who are you? Kyuubi growled. HN. The man said, I am Uchiha Madara and I control you now. It's all thanks to my eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Now come with me, Fox, we have a village to destroy. Back in the village October 10th. He's beautiful, Kushina-chan, Minato said. Yeah, he is, too bad he got your looks instead of mine, said Kushina with a smile as she looked at Naruto. He's probably going to have your personality, but... he said with an amused look. Yandame-sama, the Kyuubi is here. Panted an Anbu who just sunshined into the room. It's time for you both to go, Kushina said while she started crying. Minato kissed her on the forehead and said with tears of his own. I guess this is it, love. I'm going to miss you, Minakuan. Tell Hiruzen I'm going to be waiting here for him here. Kushina said. With that, Minato kissed her for the final time on the lips, walked toward the door. As he was walking out, he turned his head to the side and said, Goodbye. While he was walking down the corridor, he failed to notice a man who smelled strangely of snakes, wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it, walking toward the room. Konoha Village location, battlefield. Minato Namikaze, it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Madara said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Madara Uchiha, and here I thought you were powerful, but here you are letting a demon do all the work. Minato replied. HN. Was the only response Madara gave. Roar roar. I'm sorry, human, he's controlling my body. There's nothing I can do, Kyuubi roared. He won't be for much longer than Kyuubi-san. Minato told her. Ha, what are you planning to do, Namikaze, as if you could beat me, laughed Madara. I don't plan on beating you, Uchiha, I plan on beating the Kyuubi. responded Minato. How could you possibly defeat the Kyuubi? Many people have tried, including me. It's impossible, asked Madara with a curious look. With this Madara, Shiki Fuuin, cried Minato. Next second there was a blinding flash of light and before them stood Shinigami himself. Who summons me? Asked the death god. I did, answered Minato. You have invoked Shiki Fuuin. So I assume you're willing to sacrifice your soul to seal the Kyuubi into that boy at your feet? That's right, Shinigami-sama. Very well, let's begin. Wait, screamed Minato. He then went down to his knees and looked at Naruto, and as he felt his soul leaving his body he said, Naruto, listen to your motormouth mother. He told his son not knowing that she had just been killed. But what happened was definitely something that not even the death god could have expected. Instead of only sealing Kyuubi inside of Naruto, he sealed both Kyuubi and Madara, who was still riding onto of Kyuubi, into Naruto as well. Aw man, Kami-chan is going to have my ass for this damn paperwork. With a second blinding flash of light, Shinigami left the now crying Naruto to his own devices. When Hiruzen finally made it to the battlefield, all he saw was a flash of light and Naruto just lying there next to his father's lifeless body crying. There, Naruto-chan, I'll take you to your mother, he said as he picked the boy up. Konoha Village location, Konoha Hospital. What? What do you mean she's dead? Screamed Hiruzen. Unfortunately, Sarutobi-sama, said the scared **+ doctor. After the birth she started hemorrhaging. When I came in the room to check up her, it was already too late. There was nothing I could do to stop the bleeding. Very well, thank you doctor, you are dismissed. Before I leave, I should tell you that Tsunade-sama has apparently disappeared. The nurses tell me that she just walked out of the hospital. And with that the doctor left, leaving behind a shocked Hiruzen. The man shook his head, disappointed in his student. Although he couldn't really blame her for leaving, it was the fact that she left Naruto here by himself, although she probably didn't know that Kushina died. She probably would have left if she knew anyway, he mused. It looks like you're going to be living in an orphanage from now on, little Naruto, he said. I don't envy the poor man who has to deal with all paperwork, he said to himself with a smile. Imagine the look on his when he found out he had to do it. Council meeting, the next day. That's absurd, Hokage-sama, the demon should be dead, not living in the orphanage where it will kill the children, screeched a civilian council member, with many on the civilian side agreeing, while a number on the shinobi side narrowed their eyes, but said nothing. No, screamed Hiruzen, the boy will not be executed. Anyone found attempting to do so will be given to Ibiki, and the fact that he is a Jinchuriki will not be told to the public. As if was the thought of many people on the civilian side of the room. The Four Guardians. Chapter 1. Konoha Village. Location, Village Center. 4 years later. Died demon. Kill it, kill the demon. That was what people in the village center could hear. It was October 10th, one of the most significant dates in Konoha history. The majority of Konoha was enjoying the annual Kyuubi. No, it's not some cult thing, they're celebrating the day that the Yondaime saved the village. There it is, shouted a woman. It ran into that alleyway. Ha, for a demon it's pretty dumb, that's a dead end, shouted a man. Many cheers went up as they all knew they would finally be able to kill it. So there he was, 4-year-old Uzumaki Naruto, back against the wall, crying, nowhere to go, no one coming to save him, or so he thinks. HN. Any last words, demon? Asked an Uchiha with his Sharingan flaring. Why? Asked Naruto through his tears. Because you killed my brother, someone yelled. And my wife, someone shouted. You killed a lot of people 4 years ago, demon. Someone shouted from the back of the mob. Kill? He asked with obvious confusion. It wasn't me, how could it have been me? You can't fool us, demon, you may be in the body of a 4-year-old child, but we know it's you, said the same Uchiha from before. Before Naruto could respond, that's when it began. Kicking, punching, stabbing, and a couple of katan jutsus thrown in for good measure. The last thing he remembers before everything went black was seeing pink hair. Drip. 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 Naruto woke up. No pain, nothing. He saw dripping pipes and water on the ground that came up to his ankles. As he continued to look around, seeing pretty much the same thing, "Am I dead?" he asked no one. "You are not dead, little one," was the low grumbling answer he didn't expect. "Come to me," the voice said, "follow my voice so you can find me." With that, he started walking down the corridor, turning corners as he saw more pipes. He pasted closed doors he couldn't open, no matter how hard he tried, until finally he came into a room, where the first thing he saw was a rather large cage with a piece of paper on it. He couldn't read what the piece of paper said because he couldn't read, no one had taught how to. However, what he didn't expect was the large animal behind the cage staring at him with curiosity with a hint of sadness. "Hold on a second, Kit," it said. "I have to do something, know that you're here. Even though you weren't supposed to be here for a few more years, but anyway." A minute later there were 2 bright flashes of light. And 2 men appeared next to him. One had blonde hair, the other had black. What? "Where am I?" the blonde man asked. "I could ask the same thing," said the other man. The 2 men looked around the room, noticing the little blonde boy, the large cage with what appeared to be a giant fox behind it. And then each other. Recognition instantly dawned on them as they yelled Namikaze/Uchiha at the same time. "Ahem, as amusing as this is, we do have visitor," the fox said as looked toward Naruto. Both men looked at it with curiosity, and they looked at the little blonde kid, who suddenly found the water on the ground rather interesting. "Who's he?" both men asked. "Jinx," said the blonde one with an amused smile on his face. "HN," the other replied. "Who are you guys?" asked Naruto with a scared yet fascinated look on his face. "Oh," said the fox a little embarrassed, "not that anyone could tell, I am the great Kyuubi no Kitsune, the queen of all foxes and master of all 9 bijou." Blink. 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 "You're a female?" both blondes asked, while the black-haired man just smirked. With a sweat drop, the animal known as Kyuubi said, "Of course I'm a female. How could you not notice that?" And then something interesting happened. Both blondes had the same sheepish smile on their faces as they both rubbed the back of their heads with their right hands. "Sorry," they both said. They then looked at each other and yelled copycat/copycat. "HN. I am Madara Uchiha," was what the black-haired one said. "HN. was Naruto's only reply. "And I'm Minato Namikaze, the Yandame Hokage," the blonde man said with a smile. "What Yandame, but you're dead, aren't you? And you killed her, didn't you?" Naruto asked as he pointed toward the fox. "Am I dead?" he asked again. "No, you're not dead, Kit, remember I've told you that already," Kyuubi said. "Nor will you be if the 3 of us have anything to do about it." "What do you mean by that, Kyuubi, and who are little one?" Minato asked Naruto. "Haha, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, future ninja and future Hokage, believe it," Naruto replied with a goofy grin. Kyuubi chuckled as Madara raised an eyebrow and Minato, well, he fainted. A minute later, when Minato finally recovered. "Uzumaki," he screamed. "Yeah, so what, are you going to attack me too?" Naruto asked, looking depressed. "What, why would anyone attack you, boy?" asked Madara, surprised by such a question. "Because I'm a demon," Naruto replied. "Kid, listen to me, you are not a demon, I am the demon. You are just a 4-year-old boy with a demon sealed inside your mind, which is where we are now." Realization dawned on Minato as he said, "So the sealing worked then?" inquired Minato. "Yes, it did," replied Kyuubi. "If the sealing worked, then how come Minato and I are here?" asked Madara. "The sealing worked a little too well, the 2 of you somehow ended up sealed inside of him as well," Kyuubi said. "What sealing, what's going on?" asked Naruto, who had absolutely no idea what was going on. When the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, the only way I was able to beat her was with a seal I had created. However, the seal would only work if I planted the seal on a newborn baby. However, I couldn't just ask any parent to sacrifice their own baby to a life of a sad life, so I had no choice but to seal the Kyuubi insidio of Myansin. He quickly spurted out. It took a while for Naruto to understand what Minato had said, but when he did the only thing someone could do in that situation: he fainted. When he woke up, he saw the man known as his father looking at him with a sad look on his face. "I'm so sorry, my son. I wish I hadn't had to do it, but there was no other way. What happened to my mother?" Naruto asked him. "I don't understand. Hiruzen was supposed to bring you back to where she was back at the hospital after I had done the sealing." "She's probably dead," said Madara. "What do you mean dead?" Minato asked as he glared at Madara. Before the sealing I was the leader of a criminal organization known as Akatsuki. As you know, Minato, I was behind the attack. I had Orochimaru attack Kyuubi's den and then head to Konoha. When you came out to face me in Kyuubi like I knew you would, I ordered Orochimaru to kill your wife and son in case you succeeded in beating Kyuubi. What I didn't know is that you planned on sealing the fox inside of your son," he said. Naruto stood there stunned while Minato stood there gritting his teeth and clenching his fists. "Tousan!" Naruto screamed, surprising everyone, as he ran up and hugged Minato by the legs. When Minato got over the shock, he turned around and crouched down on his knees so he could look at Naruto in the eyes. "I'm sorry, my son, I didn't know that would happen." "It's okay, Dad," Naruto said with tears coming down his face. "I'm here now," Minato said. "Yes, that's good and all, but we do have a mob to deal with. Now I believe that you, Naruto, can actually use Madara's Sharingan to deal with them," Kyuubi said. "I suppose it's the only way. I mean, if he were to die, we would too, right? So go ahead and use it," Madara said. "Yeah, but when you've done that you need to run. You can't let anyone know you used the Sharingan," Minato said, still astounded by the fact that he forgot that there was a bigger issue at hand. "Getting out of there shouldn't be a problem. He just used my Sharingan's other ability, the time-space transportation jutsu. Being a 4-year-old, you can't go too far as this jutsu uses chakra, so you will have to go somewhere very close by. All you have to do is think of that place and you will transport yourself there," Madara said sagely. "Okay," was all Naruto could say as he disappeared. The real world. Everyone was shocked when they suddenly felt the sickening ki coming from Naruto. The civilians crumpled over, struggling to breathe, while the shinobi were faring a little better. But they too fell to the ground as the burnt and bloodied form of Naruto rose up and stood there and stared at them all with Madara's Sharingan started spinning fast. "Now say Amaterasu," Madara said inside of Naruto's mind. "Amaterasu," he said. That's when black flames suddenly appeared and attached themselves to wherever he looked, mainly the mob in front of him. "That's enough, son. Now get out of there." Thinking about where he wanted to go, he disappeared in a swirl. He reappeared a second later, about 200 meters away. He could hear the screams coming from the mob. Thinking about what he had just done, he suddenly realized that it could not have been a good thing. Before he could think more on it, Kyuubi said, "You can think on it later, Kit. Right now you just need to get away from here. Just go to your apartment and everything will be okay." 10 minutes later, he finally arrived at a rundown apartment building. He opened his door and stepped inside, only for Madara to say, "This is where you live, Kami?" "Hey, it's not that bad," he replied as he saw a cockroach run past him. The next morning, Naruto woke up thinking about what he was told the night before. Flashback. "Hey Naruto, come in here for a minute. We need to talk to you," said Minato. "Okay, how do I do that?" he asked. "Just close your eyes and think about us and you will be here," Kyuubi responded. A few seconds later, Naruto appeared in his mind in front of the cage. "Listen, Naruto, we wanted to talk to about what happened earlier," Minato said with a sad smile. Before he or the others could say anything else, Naruto asked, "I killed them, didn't I?" Seeing them all nod, he said while tears started coming down his face, "Then I really am a demon then?" "No/no/no/no," they all shouted. "You're not a demon, Naruto, you are my son and you did what you had to do to survive," Minato stated. He's right, boy. Look, you said you wanted to be a shinobi, correct? Seeing Naruto nod, Madara continued. Well, one of hard facts of a shinobi's life is the fact that as a shinobi, in order to protect and save all the people that are precious to you, you will need to kill your enemies in order to keep them safe. Do you get used to it? Will I end up enjoying it? Naruto asked. It does eventually get a little easier as time goes on. And I really hope the day does not come when you enjoy killing Sun. Because if you do, it is then that you will become a demon. Minato stated. Naruto just stood there with determination flashing through his eyes. They kind of looks like Guy's eyes whenever he starts to talk about the flames of youth. Minato thought as a shiver ran down his spine. Oblivious to the man's thoughts, Madara started to talk. Now boy, onto the Sharingan. Now as you can see, the Sharingan grants an Uchiha with certain powers, like the Amaterasu and the time-space transportation jutsu. You're going to have to let me talk to you about those later though. Anyway, there are 3 types of Sharingan out there. 1 is the normal Sharingan that appears in every Uchiha. They get what appear to be commas in their eyes. They get a maximum of 3 commas in each eye. When that happens, it means the Sharingan is fully developed. With this type of Sharingan, you will be able to see your opponent's moves before they come at you. You will also have the ability to copy any jutsu apart from the Kekkei Genkai or Bloodline jutsu. 2nd is the Manjikyu Sharingan that an Uchiha can only get if they kill their best friend. Naruto was absolutely shocked at that. Why would someone kill their best friend? He asked. Power, Madara said with a depressed yet nostalgic look on his face. In order to use Amaterasu like you did, an Uchiha needs the Manjikyu Sharingan. Why you killed your best friend? Naruto asked. The next type of Sharingan is, Madara went on, seemingly ignoring Naruto. The truth is, he just didn't want to talk about it. The Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. This particular Sharingan is only obtainable by taking your brother's eyes. He paused, letting the information sink in. Before you start, let me say that, no, I did not kill my brother. The truth is, he was dying and he discovered that the only way to save me from dying because of the Manjikyu Sharingan was to give me his eyes. So, before he died, he did just that. Now know this, boy, we will not give you the Manjikyu or the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan until all 3 of us think you are ready for them. Naruto stood there taking all the information in. As long as I don't have to kill my best friend to use them, I don't care. Seeing everyone smile, Minato said, the other reason we wanted to talk to you is about your shinobi training. Seeing Naruto instantly perk up and smile, he continued. We will start your training tomorrow. For starters, I'm going to teach you the academy basics. Henge, Kawarimi, and Bunshin. Now I want to get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. But before that, just one question. Do you know what happened to Tsunade and Jiraiya by any chance? Naruto tilted his head to the side in confusion and asked who? Sai, never mind, just go get some sleep. Flashback end. Okay, Naruto, now that you're awake, eat some breakfast because we're going to start training you, Kyuubi said. With that, Naruto devoured his instant ramen and ran out of his apartment toward a training ground that his father said was close by. But when he got there, he saw a black-haired man sitting on a rock watching a boy who also had black hair doing what looked like training. When the man sitting on the rock noticed Naruto standing there, he said, "Oh hey, oh little boy, what are you doing over there?" Embarrassed, Naruto replied, "Oh hey, oh, I was just about to start training when I got here." "Who are you?" he asked. With a raised eyebrow, the man said, "I'm Uchiha Itachi, and the boy over there training is my little brother Sasuke." "An Uchiha? Interesting," Madara said. "What do you mean by that?" he thought. "It's a long story, I'll tell you about it later." Maybe shaking his head, Naruto asked Itachi, "Hey, could you maybe help me train? I mean, I'm just starting to, but I don't really know where to begin. But I was hoping that you could teach how to do a henge." Itachi, although showing no emotions on his face, was looking at him quizzically, thinking about it for a moment before he said, "Very well," was all he said. "The seals are dog, boar, and ram. Do those seals while applying chakra and you should transform into whomever you chose. Naruto made a mental note of the hand seals and went to work. Dogboram. While applying chakra he did the seals and instantly inside a puff of smoke was exact copy of Itachi before he transformed back into Naruto. Meanwhile Itachi was sitting there with his eyebrows raised. Wow, I never thought that he'd get it on the first go. I wonder if it's got anything to do with the fox. He thought. Good work. Now why don't you go practice that and come back tomorrow? When you do I will teach you the kawarimi. Assuming that you don't know that already know it. Seeing Naruto shaking his head meaning no, he just nodded and turned back to watching Sasuke train. Time skip. Over the next few months, Naruto learnt the kawarimi, henge, and he even learnt the kage bunshin. Not to mention a couple of other things. Flashback. Bunshin. When Naruto looked to his right he saw a deformed version of himself lying half dead on the ground. Again he whined. You may not be able to do this jutsu because it requires smaller reserves. With you though, since you have rather large reserves thanks to the three of us you need better control. Kyuubi said. There is a way around that though Naruto. It's a jutsu called Kage Bunshin. Minato said. Normally a 4-year-old would never be able to do this jutsu as it requires a lot of chakra. But, with you, you should be able to learn it with no problem. If you do learn it we'll even teach you the secret behind this technique. Continued Madara. This jutsu only needs one seal, the tiger seal. Go ahead and try it. Minato went on. Naruto placed his hands in the way of the tiger and shouted Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. This time when Naruto looked to his right he saw a perfect copy of himself standing there smiling. End flashback. Naruto was standing in a field taking a short break from training. But that doesn't mean there isn't at least 100 shadow clones still training. And all of them were trying to learn the final step of the Rasengan. Yatta, one clone yelled. I did it, well done son, his father said. He awesome, Naruto said. Someone's coming, dispel your clones, Madara said. Hi was all Naruto said as he dispelled his clones. When he turned around he saw Itachi and Sasuke walking toward him. Hello Naruto-san, said Itachi. Hello Itachi-nizen, Sasuke-kun. What are you two doing here? Naruto asked them. We're here to invite you to dinner. Sasuke said with a smile. Time skip. Later that night, Naruto arrived outside the Uchiha compound with the guards not letting him in. No demons allowed, one of the guards said. Before Naruto could respond a man with blackened hair and brown eyes walked up to the group and asked. What's going on here? The demon is trying to get inside the compound, Fugaku-sama, we can deal with it, one of the guards said. That's quite alright you two. In fact I've been expecting him. You see my son's invited him over for dinner, so let him in. Good old Fugaku, he's not a real Uchiha is he? Asked Madara. No he's not, but his wife Makoto is. I was friends with the both of them. In fact I was the one who introduced Fugaku to Makoto. And I should mention that they both knew that Kushina was pregnant, so they should probably know who are. When they walked in the door they could hear what sounded like a woman humming. When they walked toward the humming it turned out to be a woman cooking in the kitchen. Naruto say hello, this is my wife Makoto, Fugaku said. Hello Uchiha-sama, Yuri Aliprity, he blurted out. I'm sorry dear, what was that? Makoto asked. I said that you're really pretty, he said, suddenly finding the floor really interesting. Ha, I reckon you're going to be a ladies' man when you grow up, kid. Laughed Fugaku. Later on during dinner. So Uzumaki-san, Itachi tells me that you've started training. What have you learned so far? Asked Fugaku. Well, I've learned Kawarimi, Henge, and Kage Bunshin so far. Naruto said with a huge smile on his face. Kage Bunshin? Asked Itachi, while he was thumping his chest trying to clear his airway as he nearly choked on his food. Hai, Naruto said. Are you sure you don't just mean Bunshin, dear? Makoto asked. No, I can't do a normal Bunshin, so I learnt the Kage Bunshin instead. Kage Bunshin is a Jounin level jutsu. How do you know about your only 4? Asked Fugaku. Well, I saw a Jounin use it while he was training once and I thought it was cool. Naruto lied. Fugaku said. Can you use it properly? Hi, Naruto replied. And you don't faint from chakra exhaustion? Nope. Naruto said. It may have something to do with the Kyuubi, Makoto thought. How many Kage Bunshins can you do, Naruto? She asked. About 100 of them, I think. He said. Yep, definitely, the Kyuubi, Makoto thought. That's really interesting, Uzumaki-san. We will have to talk about something later. Fugaku said. Oh, okay, was all Naruto said before stuffing his face with rice. Dad, Sasuke said, can I learn the Kage Bunshin jutsu? And everyone shouted except for Naruto, who was still busy stuffing his face. If you try and learn that now, it could kill you, Fugaku said. You don't have enough chakra to learn it right now, Otuto, but you will when you're older. Itachi said. Then how come Naruto can learn it now? Sasuke asked, obviously curious as to why Naruto's not dead. Makoto said that's because he's special, dear. The amount of chakra he has, well, it comes from his clan, dear. His clan? Itachi asked. Maybe it wasn't the Kyuubi like I thought it was, he thought. The Uzumaki clan, Makoto responded. They were well known for incredibly high chakra levels. Were? Naruto asked. I'm afraid so, dear. They were all killed during the Third Shinobi War, she told him with a frown. Now Naruto knew that the part about them all dying was a lie, but he didn't know about them dying. Sasuke, dear, said Makoto, if you're finished, go take a bath and brush your teeth. Okay, Mum, Sasuke said as he stood up and walked up the stairs. How long have you known about the Kyuubi Uzumaki? Fugaku, damn, Minato said inside Naruto's mind. A couple of months, said Naruto as he scratched the back of his while smiling. You sure are an interesting one, Uzumaki. Fugaku said. So have you learned anything else, Naruto? Itachi asked. Well, don't tell them anything, Naruto. No, not yet. But I will. Come on, Naruto, it's getting late, it's time for you to go home, dear. I'll escort you out, Makoto said. 20 minutes later. Naruto's apartment. Hey Kyuubi-chan, Naruto said as he entered his mindscape. What do you want, Kit? And it better be interesting or I'm going to sleep. She said. Is there a way I can control all 9 of your tails? Naruto asked. Kyuubi just stared at him. I did not expect that, she thought. Minato was looking at Naruto with wide eyes while his jaw was touching the ground, and Madara was just smirking. Why do you want to know that, Kit? Kyuubi asked, definitely curious now. Well, I remember Dad telling me that there are other Jinchuriki out there, and let's say I can't control any of your tails and we get attacked by any of them. I wouldn't stand a chance and we could die. And since you're the 9 tails, we can't let that happen, can we? He said. I guess we can't. It would be embarrassing if you lost to the others. Very well, there is only one way you can control all my power. You have to beat me in a little competition. Kyuubi said. Competition? Naruto asked. You're not telling me everything, are you? You're right, I'm not, she said. Hey Madara, can I use the Manjikyu Sharingan for a minute? Naruto asked him. Sure thing, kid, and you better win or we're all screwed. He said. Okay was all he could before the cage disappeared, or more like. The bars of the cage transformed themselves into chains that wrapped themselves around both the Kyuubi and Naruto. Ha ha ha, all you have to do to beat me is overpower me with your chakra. And remember, if you lose you die and I'm free. Get ready, Kit, because here we go. And immediately all Naruto could feel was intense anger and hatred and strangely, love and happiness. Is it her or me that are having these feelings, Naruto thought. That's when strange images started appearing in Naruto's mind. Kyuubi with a male fox and 3 baby foxes. Madara with Kyuubi. Kyuubi and Madara with Minato and Naruto with that's me as a baby, but who is that lady? I know her from somewhere. That's when the lady looked down at baby Naruto and said, please forgive us someday, Naruto-chan. Just know I love you and I always will, my little maelstrom. Could it be, Ka-san? When Naruto snapped out of it, he looked at his hands and he saw that they started to turn into claws and his teeth were getting longer and sharper. Naruto! What are you doing? You need to fight back! Minato screamed. Naruto started to focus on what was going on. He then started to pour his chakra through the chains. I love you too. Kazeni chains started to shake violently and the light coming from his chakra was getting brighter and brighter to the point where no one could see what was happening. What's going on? Naruto yelled. I don't know, Naruto. Just keep pouring your chakra, boy, Madara said. So he did. That's when the chains stopped shaking and the light started to die down. The next thing anyone knew, the chains surrounding Naruto broke apart and fell to the ground. Meanwhile, the chains surrounding Kyuubi stayed where they were. It looks like you win, Kit. Really? Naruto said, a little sleepy. Yada, he said before he fainted. Meanwhile, at the Hokage's office. That chakra. It felt like. Oh no, Naruto, he said, standing up and shining out of the room. When the Sandaime arrived at Naruto's apartment, all he saw was Naruto on the floor. Let's get you to the hospital, he said to the unconscious Naruto. The next morning, Naruto woke up to a bright white ceiling. What, where am I? He asked nobody. Suddenly the door opened and a woman entered. Oh good, Naruto-kun, you're awake. She said, Ohayo Kagome-chan. Naruto said, what happened? The Hokage found you unconscious in your apartment. She said, how are you feeling now? I'm fine, he said as the door opened and in came the Hokage followed by two men and a woman. The first man had black hair and a mask on his face that looked like a weasel. He was wearing a gray ANBU vest with a black shirt underneath it, black shinobi pants and black shinobi sandals. The second man was wearing the same thing except he had silver hair and his mask looked like a dog. The female was also wearing the same thing except she had long purple hair that was tied up in a ponytail. And her mask looked like a cat. Ohayo Nico-chan, Inu-san, Itachi-san, GG. Naruto said, Ohayo Naruto-kun. They all said, here Naruto, I bought you this teddy bear, said Nico. Arigato Nico-chan, Naruto said, taking the bear. Naruto-kun, do you mind telling us what happened last night? Asked Hiruzen. Well, I can control all 9 tails of the Kyuubi. He said. Everyone stood there completely shocked. Not that you could tell considering 3 of them were wearing masks. What do you mean you can control all 9 tails? Inu said, that would mean you control the Kyuubi. Hi, Naruto said cheerfully. What happened last night, Naruto? Asked Hiruzen. So for the next couple of minutes Naruto explained to them what happened. I can't believe it, Itachi said. Incredible, Nico said. Are you going to tell the council, Hokage-sama? Asked Inu. I probably should, but it would be better if they didn't know. Hiruzen replied. I suppose it would. Hokage-sama, with your permission I would like to train Naruto. You don't need to, Inu-san, Naruto said. And why is that, Naruto-kun? He asked. Because I've been training myself, look, Naruto said. He placed his hands in the tiger seal position and said, Kagebunshin no Jutsu, and with a puff of smoke a second Naruto appeared. Wow, you're just full of surprises today, aren't you, Naruto-kun? Well done, said Nico-chan. Sorry to interrupt, but Naruto-kun can go home now. Kagome said. Alright then, thank you, Nurse-san. Naruto, why don't you come to my office so we can talk a bit more about this? Okay, GG, Naruto said. Goodbye, Itachi-san, Inu-san. He said, thanks for the bear, Nico-chan, he said to her as he went up and hugged her. We should get going to guys, Inu said. Ja ni Naruto-kun, he said with a wave. With that, everyone shined out of the room. Come on then, Naruto-kun. A few minutes later in the Hokage's office, Naruto was explaining to Hiruzen all about his training and where he learned Kagebunshin. All the while leaving out Minato and Madara, of course. Yeah, I saw a shinobi practicing it, so I thought I'd try it. That's very interesting, Naruto, Hiruzen said with a smile. Now, how long have you known about the Kyuubi? He asked. Naruto was about to answer when there was a knock on the door. Come in, Hiruzen said. I'm sorry to interrupt Hokage-sama, a woman said as she opened the door. But a woman called Mei Terumi is here to see you. Ah, yes. Send her in, thank you. Stay here, Naruto, I want to keep talking to you. Haigg, Miss Terumi, it's nice to meet you. Hiruzen said with a smile as a woman entered the room accompanied by two men. Likewise, Hokage-sama, she replied. When Naruto looked at the woman, he couldn't help but think she was, in his words, pretty. Her eyes were light green and she had long brown hair that went down to her ankles. She was wearing a dark blue dress that showed some her sizable bust. Underneath that she was wearing a mesh shirt. She was also wearing a dark blue skirt with mesh leggings underneath. On her feet she was wearing high-heeled sandals and she was wearing knee-high shin guards. So what can I do for today, Mei? Asked Hiruzen. Well, I'm sure you are aware of the civil war we are having right now in Kirigakure, Mei said. Yes, I'm well aware of it actually, Hiruzen said with curiosity. Yes, well, we've come to ask you for your help. She replied. Have you now? Hiruzen asked. Forgive me, but the last I heard the Kekkai Genkai side you're leading was losing this war. So why should Konoha help you? Because if you don't, that damn Jinchuriki Yagura will win. She said angrily. Jinchuriki, Naruto thought. I'm sorry, Mei, but Konoha will not help you. Humph, very well, we will leave. Mei said as she turned around. I wish I could help you, Naruto said. Oh, and why is that little one? Mei said as she turned back around and faced Naruto. Well, just because this Yagura man is a Jinchuriki, that doesn't give him the right to try and kill those with Kekkai Genkai. Naruto said with a smile. Mei couldn't help but smile at this. Do you really think that? Mei asked. Hi, I do. Mei smiled even wider as she asked, what's your name, kid? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the next Hokage. He replied with a smile. You want to become Hokage, huh? She asked amused. Hai, and I'll be the best Hokage ever, believe it, he said. You sure are a cute one, Naruto-kun, she said with a giggle. And you're really pretty, Mei-chan, Naruto said with a grin. You really think so, huh? She asked. Hi, Naruto replied. Well, thank you, Naruto-kun, she said right before bent down and gave him a kiss on the cheek. As Naruto sat there a little stunned over what just happened, Mei turned to the smiling Hokage and said, thank you for your time, Hokage-sama, but if you're not going to help us, then we should be leaving. Hiruzen nodded and said, very well, and for what it's worth, I hope your side wins. Thank you, we will try our best, Hokage-sama. She then turned to Naruto and said, goodbye, Naruto-kun, as she gave him another kiss on the cheek. And with that, she and the two men accompanying her walked out of the office. As they were leaving, one of the men said, that kid sure was interesting. He certainly was. He was also a little too young to know about Kekkai Genkai and Jinchuriki. She said. I wonder who he is. Back inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen said, Naruto, I just remembered I'm supposed to go to Sunagakure tomorrow to discuss the Chunin exams that are being held there with the Kazekage. Do you want to come with me? Hi, Gigi, I will come with you. Naruto replied. Excellent, then I will ask Nico-chan and Inu-kun to come with us. Hiruzen said, really? Yatta, Naruto shouted excitedly. Chapter 2. So what do you think of Suna, little one? Asked the Kazekage. I like it, it's awesome, Naruto said. Haha, I'm glad to hear it. The Kazekage said just as the door to his office. Ohio Oto-san, a boy Naruto's age, said as he came through the door. When Naruto looked at the boy, it looked that he had been crying. He had red hair and green eyes. He was wearing a long-sleeved green/gray turtleneck shirt and black pants and black sandals. Ohio Gaara, what are you doing here? The Kazekage asked. The villagers are throwing rocks at me again. Gaara said. I smell Shikaku all over this little one. Kyuubi said in Naruto's mind. Shikaku? Naruto asked her. The bijou, kit. The Ichibi no Shikaku to be exact. You see those dark rings around the boy's eyes? Those are signs of insomnia. Even though Shikaku is the weakest bijou, he's a bit Well, crazy. I bet every time that boy tries to sleep he has nightmares, so he stays awake at night. Were they? The Kazekage said as Naruto snapped back into reality. Yes. Gaara said before he started to cry. Why were they throwing rocks at you? Naruto asks. Because they think I am a DD demon. That's enough, Gaara screamed the Kazekage. Don't talk about that right now in front of my guests. Sorry Tusen, Gaara said. Interesting, I smell the Kyuubi on that kid. Ha ha ha, it looks like the mighty has fallen just like the rest of us. Musuko, be careful of the blonde one, he's dangerous. You should stay away from him, Shikako said inside Gaara's mind. Kazan says I should stay away from you, Gaara says as he looks at Naruto. Ka-san? Everyone except the Kazekage thought thinking the same thing. Shikaka's crazy, remember, he's probably pretending to be this kid's mother, Kyuubi told Naruto. Why should you stay away from him, Gaara? The Kazekage asked, now curious. Tell him I don't like blondes, Shikako said. Because Ka-san says she doesn't like blondes. Gaara said. Hey! It's not my fault I'm blonde, you know. Naruto said while pouting. Seeing him pout, the woman known as Nico had to suppress the urge to glomp him and scream kawaii. Because she thought that was the cutest thing she had seen him do ever since she was ordered by the Hokage to watch over him. He's so cute, she thought. Cough went the Hokage as he saw they were getting off track. I never really liked sand, I just want to get this over with, but not too quickly I hope. Damn paperwork, Hiruzen thought. Yes, well, let's get down to business, shall we, Kazekage Dano? Hiruzen said. Yes. Gaara, why don't you go and play with your siblings? Okay, Tusan. As Gaara turned around and started walking toward the door, he turned around and looked at Naruto and said. It was nice meeting you to Gaara. Naruto responded with a huge smile on his while he was bouncing up and down on his feet. Kawaii. Nico thought again. With that, Gaara turned and walked out the door. Neko-san, Inu-san, Hiruzen said. Why don't you show Naruto around Suna while the Kazekage and I talk? Hi Hokage-sama. They replied in unison. Come on, Naruto-kun, let's go, Nico said while taking Naruto's hand in hers. And, like Gaara, they too walked out the door. Later that night, while everyone was sleeping, Naruto was sitting on the roof of the hotel that he and everyone else was staying in. I wonder if all Jinchuriki are treated the same way like Gaara and I. From what I can remember, they are the ones I'm not too sure about are the Hachibi Jinchuriki, since he was the son of the Reikage and Yagura the Sanbai Jinchuriki and the current Mizukage of Kirigakure. Speaking of Kiri, I really wish I could help them. Naruto said, or rather, thought. Me too, but you're too young to do anything about it, I mean you're only 4 years old. Minato said. HN. A 4-year-old Jinchuriki who can control the power of the Jinchuriki, not to mention, if need be he can use my eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, Madara reminded him. Yeah, he's the most powerful 4-year-old in the world. Not to mention the fact that he's not even a shinobi yet. Kyuubi told them. And I still think I should go to Kiri and stop that Yagura guy. Naruto told them. I know you do, but I still say you're too young. Minato said. HN. I say we put it to a vote. Madara said with a smirk. All those in favor of going to Kiri say aye. I. All but Minato said. Sorry Blondie, but it looks like we're going to Kiri. Kyuubi said. Then go pack your stuff, we're leaving tonight then. Minato said, a little disappointed. Wait, someone's coming, Kyuubi said. That's when Naruto heard footsteps. When Naruto turned around to see who it was, it turned out to be the ANBU Nico, still wearing full ANBU gear. Naruto-kun, what are you doing up here, it's late? She asked him. HN. I couldn't sleep, so I came up here. Okay, what's on your mind? Do you want to talk about it? Naruto thought for a second. Do you think she would come with us to Kiri? I don't know. It wouldn't hurt to find out though. Madara said. I'd definitely feel a lot better if she did, Minato said. I was thinking about that boy, Gaara from earlier. He said to Nico. You mean the Kazekage's son? She asked as Naruto nodded in response. What about him? Well, did you know that he's a Jinchuriki like me? He asked her. Yeah, I kind of figured that out when he said that they were calling him a demon. She said as remembered what happened earlier that day. While thinking of Gaara, he reminded me of another Jinchuriki called Yagura. He said. Wait, do you mean Yagura as in the current Mizukage? Nico asked, now curious. Naruto just nodded in response. Naruto, how do you know that he's a Jinchuriki? I was in the Hokage's office when the leader of the Kekkai Genkai side of the war came to see Gigi. And she told us. Oh, alright then. Nico said. This is why I'm going to Kiri. He continued. Wait, what do you mean you're going to Kiri? You can't do that. She said completely shocked. I mean, I'm going to Kiri to stop Yagura, and I want you to come with me. What? Naruto, we can't just to go Kiri like that. We need permission from the Hokage, and besides you're too young. Madara, Naruto thought. Yeah kid, what is it? Sharingan, now Naruto ordered and Madara complied. Naruto looked down and closed his eyes as he said, if you're not coming with me then I guess I'll just leave now then. He then looked up at Nico and opened his eyes revealing the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. The woman known as Nico was now thoroughly confused and completely shocked. Dujitsu, he doesn't have a Dujitsu, does he? Were just some of the thoughts that were currently going through her head right now. Naruto W what, was all she could get out. Goodbye Nico-chan, I really wish you would come with me, but I'll be back. He said as started to disappear in a swirl of black. All Nico could do was stand as she started freaking out. What the hell is going on here? Sigh, damn it. Naruto. I have to follow him. Hokage-sama will kill if I don't, she thought as she got out a scroll and brushed to write a note to the Hokage. With that done, she shunshined to where she hoped Naruto would still be. When Naruto appeared again, he was standing just outside the entrance to the village. Well, this should be fun. Minato said, still disappointed that Naruto was going alone. Yeah, Naruto thought as he started walking. Hey, you know you can train me along the way. I don't know, I've taught you mostly everything I know apart from Genjutsu, which I'm not very good at, Fuinjutsu, elemental manipulation and the Hiraishin no Jutsu and the Shunshin. I could teach him Genjutsu, and since he can use the Sharingan I can teach him a couple of jutsus he will be able to use. Really? That's awesome. Hey Naruto, wait up. Huh, he said as turned toward the voice only to find Nico running toward him. When she reaches him, Naruto asks her, what are you doing here, Nico, with obvious confusion on his face. I'm coming with you, she said. How come? Naruto asks. Because there is no way I could face the Hokage if I let you go alone. Yada! Naruto screamed as he hugged her. Alright Naruto-kun, she said, hugging him back slightly. Let's go, shall we? She said. I'm just going to have to lie to the Hokage. At least this way I can get some answers, she thought. Okay, he said with a big smile on his face as he let go of her and started walking again. He said as he just realized something. What is it, Naruto-kun? Nico asked him as she turned her head to look at him. Well, It's just how do we actually get to Kiri? He asks everyone face faults while Kyuubi just chuckles. You mean to tell me you were going to go to Kiri without even knowing the way? She asks. Yep, he said, but now that you're here, you can show me way. He said with a goofy smile on his face. The next morning, back in Suna, Hiruzen and the man known as Inu woke up to find both Naruto and Nico gone. They were currently reading the note that Nico left. Hokage-sama. When you find this note, no doubt you'll find that both I and Naruto-kun are gone. The reason being is that, last night, while you and Inu-san were sleeping, Naruto was talking to me about Jinchuriki and how he wanted to do something about the civil war in Kiri and the Sanbai Jinchuriki, Yagura the Mizukage. He told me he was going there, and before I could stop him well, I guess he shined. I'll have to explain later. It was then I decided to at least go with him. I did try to convince him not to go, but he wouldn't listen. So we may be gone for a while. Nico-san. Damn it, Naruto, Hiruzen thought. What is he thinking? He's only 4, I mean sure he can control all the power of the Kyuubi, but Yagura is a Kage-level shinobi, Inu said. I know Inu-san, but since they're gone we can only hope that Nico-san can convince him to come back, or at least keep from doing anything stupid. Hiruzen said sigh, hopefully she can convince him to come back, if not then I pray to Kami that she keeps him safe. Hiruzen thought. Time skip, 2 days later. As they were traveling to Kiri, the woman known as Nico decided that because it just starting to get dark, it would be a good idea if they stopped at the river they came across. Currently Nico was trying to catch some fish, but failing miserably. Damn it, she screamed. Stupid fish, she shouted as she to try again. This is so funny to watch, he thought as he watched her try again. And she definitely looks good with most of her clothes off and covered in water. What do you mean? Naruto asks him. Ahem, Minato interrupts before Madara can answer Naruto, why don't you go practice your water walking and taijutsu? Confused, he agreed and took off his clothes until he was wearing nothing but his boxers. As he started walking on the water, Nico decided it was time to take a break. When she went to look at Naruto, she saw him standing on the water. Wait, water what? Naruto-kun, how long have you been able to water walk? She asked in surprise. No 4-year-old should be able to do that. For a couple of months now, I guess, he answered, shrugging. Who taught you how to do that? She asked. She never saw anyone training him. In fact, she had never seen him train. What have I been doing while I've been watching him? She asked herself before bringing her attention back to Naruto. No one, I saw this shinobi practicing it once, so I thought I'd try it. He lied. But as far Nico knew, he was telling the truth. Hey Nico-chan, have you caught any fish yet? Naruto asked, deciding to change the subject. No, not yet, stupid fish. She said, looking at the river. As she looked back at Naruto, she looked down and noticed that she could actually see his ribs. Oh my god, even for a 4-year-old, no kid should look like that. He is definitely malnourished. He really needs to eat. She thought. Sigh breaks over, I guess. With that, she went back into the water. Later that night, after Nico had finally managed to catch some fish, they were waiting for them to be cooked. When Naruto finally decided to ask, Hey Nico-chan, can I ask you something? Ask away Naruto-kun, she said as she turned to look at him. Well, I was just wondering, what's your real name? He asked. Well, I don't really think I can tell you that. She said. Oh, okay, he said, looking down, obviously a little upset that she wouldn't tell him. When Nico saw him get upset, she frowned. What the hell, I suppose I can tell him. She thought. Naruto-kun, my real name is Yuga Yuzuki, she said as Naruto looked up at her and smiled. But please remember that once we are in Kiri and then when we are back in Konoha, when I'm wearing my mask, that you call me Nico. Okay Yuga-chan, I will remember, he said, still smiling. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she said as she smiled back. Oh, it looks like the fish is ready. She noticed as turned to check on them. She handed one to Naruto and they both started eating, falling into a comfortable silence. While they were eating, a question suddenly popped up in Naruto's head. Hey Yugao-chan, where do babies come from? He asked. Where did that come from? He wondered as he asked. What? Minato screamed as both Madara and Kyuubi both burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, that's too funny, ha ha ha. Meanwhile, Yugo was trying to recover from almost choking on her food. Cough cough, what cough, where did that come from, Naruto? She asked. The Kyuubi told me to ask, he lied. Ahem, well, you're too young to know, sorry Naruto-kun. Come on, please. If you tell me, I'll tell you a couple of secrets that not even Gigi knows. Well, I would like to know about that Jujutsu I think he has. On the other hand, I really don't want to mentally scar the kid, but the answers I could get would probably be worth it. Okay Naruto, but if I tell you, you have to answer the questions I've got for you, okay? She said. Hi. Naruto said. Several excruciating minutes later and one horrified Naruto. Yugo finally finished explaining how babies are made. Why did I even ask that? He asked no one in particular. Ha ha ha, I don't know, but that was funny. Okay Naruto, now that thankfully I'm done. It's time for you to answer my questions. She said. Okay, Naruto replied. Alright, firstly, what was it you did? When you disappeared off the roof of the hotel? Should I just tell her everything? He asked. It's up to you, you did promise her you would, even though I wish you hadn't done. But if you do, make sure she promises not to tell anyone, okay? Okay, he replied. Before I tell you, can you promise me something? Depends on what it is I have to promise. She responded. You have to promise me that, with what I tell you, you can't tell anyone else. Seems reasonable, I guess must be something big if he doesn't want anyone to know. She figured. Okay, I promise not tell anyone. Arigato. Well, first off, what do you know about the Kyuubi attack? He asked. Not much, just that it attacked and to stop it the Yondaime sealed it inside of you. This could take a while, Naruto said. Okay, well, that part is true. But what you don't know is why the Kyuubi attacked Konoha in the first place. You see, the Kyuubi didn't actually want to attack. She was forced to. What do you mean by forced? She interrupted. She was being controlled by someone. Controlled? By who? How is that possible? She interrupted again. She was being controlled by Madara Uchiha. And as to the how, he went on before she interrupted again. He used one of the powers of his eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. BBB, but that's not possible. The Shodaime killed him 80 years ago at the Valley of the End, everyone knows that. She said. That's what Madara wanted you to think. You see, just after the Shodaime tried to kill him, Madara used his space/time jutsu and placed a dead corpse clone of himself in his place. So it only looked like the Shodaime killed him. He stopped for a few moments to let it all sink in, as Yugo was just sitting there too shocked to say anything. Anyways, back to the story. When the Yondaime went to face the Kyuubi, he discovered that Madara was behind it all as he was riding on top of the Kyuubi, and because, well, he told the Yondaime he was behind the attack. And when the Yondaime went to seal the Kyuubi inside of me, something went wrong. Wrong? You see, the Kyuubi isn't the only one sealed inside of me. What? Yugo screamed. Like I said. Something went wrong. And both Madara and the Yondaime ended up being sealed inside me along with Kyuubi. Is this a joke, Naruto? Do you really expect me to believe all this? She asked, extremely skeptical. Madara, eyes please. He thought. Sure, kid. What I'm saying is the truth, Yugo-chan, and if you want proof. Here it is, he said as Madara activated his Sharingan. Whoa, so wait, that's Madara's Sharingan. Naruto nodded in response. What can you do with it? Definitely curious. Well, there's the space/time jutsu. That's actually what I used on the roof of the hotel. I can use Amaterasu. Seeing the look on her face, he decided to explain. It causes black flames to appear on anything I'm looking at, and they cannot be put out by anything. And there's a few other jutsu that Madara wants to teach me. But I don't know what yet. So he's been training you then, she said, looking at him accusingly. Yeah, he said while rubbing the back of his head, looking sheepish. Kawaii Nico thought, do the best to restrain herself from glomping him. Well, they all have. That's how I learned water walking and everything. Really, what else have they been teaching you? She asked. In response, Naruto raised his right palm facing up and poured chakra into it, causing a bright green sphere to appear in the palm of his hand. Rara Rasengan? She gasped. Yep, he said with a smile. How long have you known that for? A couple of months, he responded. Yugo didn't say anything as she looked up at the moon. Amazing. He could easily become the most powerful shinobi in all the nations. That's when an idea struck. Hey Naruto-kun, she said, turning back to him. How would you like me to teach you Kenjutsu? Really? She nodded. That's awesome, Yugo-chan. Thank you, he said as he hugged her. All right, Naruto-kun. Now that we've finished eating, I think it's time to go to sleep, she said as she stood up and started walking over to her sleeping bag she had previously set up. Hey Naruto, ask her if she has any elemental affinity paper, Minato told him. Okay, hey Yugo-chan, do you happen to have any elemental affinity paper on you by any chance? He asked. Elemental affinity, man, those three either want to make extremely strong or they want to kill, and she thought, I suppose I should just say no, but this is getting interesting. I don't know, Naruto-kun, let me check my pack. A minute later she returned. Here you go, Naruto-kun, you're lucky that's the only one I have on me right now, she said, handing the piece of paper to him. Just be careful, okay? Elemental affinity training is a high chunin/jounin level training. I don't even really think you should trying this out until you're older. Hi, arigato Yugo-chan, he said, thanking her. Okay, so now what do I do? He asked. All you have to do is channel your chakra through the paper and it will show you what your elemental affinity is. If the paper slices, that means you have a wind affinity like I did, he said with smile. If it burns, that means you have a fire affinity, which is common for shinobi in the Leaf Village. If it dampens, that means you have a water affinity, if it crumbles then you have an earth affinity, and if it crinkles up then that means you have a lightning element. So Naruto did what he was told and channeled chakra through the paper. As soon as he did, though, something happened that no one expected. At first the paper sliced itself into 4 squares. The first square crinkled up, and then all 4 squares started burn until Naruto had to drop the square he was still holding. Yugo, who was watching him, was shocked for what felt like the 100th time tonight. TT3 elements, Kamisama, he's only 4 years old, who the fuck is this kid? She wondered. So I guess I have 3 elements then, Naruto said. It's not really surprising though, is it not, to mention a very powerful fire element, although that probably has something to with both myself and Kyuubi being inside you. Your primary element though is wind, since that's the one that showed up first. So I think you should start your training with that. What do you think, Minato? Madara said in Naruto's mindscape as he turned toward Minato only to see that the man had fainted. Madara took one last look at Minato before shaking his head and shrugging. I suppose we could start with fire, let's see how that goes. I suggest that when Yuga goes to sleep I'll teach you some jutsu then. Hey, what about me? I need to sleep sometime too, you know. No, you don't, Kit, at least not really. In case you've forgotten, I have healing abilities, so healing you of your lack of sleep shouldn't be a problem. Really? That's awesome. Naruto replied. Unbelievable, Yugo said, snapping Naruto back to reality. 3 elements, only highly skilled Jonin have 3 elements and some still only have 2. As she looked at Naruto, still shocked beyond relief. Yan, we'll talk more tomorrow, Naruto-kun, she said as she stood up and walked to her sleeping bag. As she was getting into it, she said, good night, Naruto-kun. Go to sleep soon, okay? Okay, good night, Yugo-chan, he said. However, due to wanting to learn a fire jutsu, he didn't want to go to sleep. So instead he stood up and went to go find a quieter place to train, so as not to wake Yugo up. A couple of minutes later, Naruto was still walking along the river. HN. Here should be good enough. Now listen closely as I'm not going to repeat myself. He paused to make sure Naruto was paying attention. The jutsu I'm going to teach you is a C-rank jutsu called Keton, Gokaki no Jutsu or Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Now the hand seals are horse, tiger, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Now what I want you to do is fill your lungs with chakra, do the hand seals and then place a ring around your mouth with your and index finger. You remember which one that is, don't you? He asked, only to receive a nod from Naruto. Good. So after you've made the ring around your mouth, that is when I want you to exhale. Okay, try it out now. YOSH. He then filled his lungs with chakra, horse, tiger, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. He thought as he did the hand signs, he made a ring around his mouth and shouted Keton, Gokaki no Jutsu. Almost immediately he saw a small ball fire come out his mouth before it turned into smoke and then disappeared. HN. That was pretty good, boy, at least you got some fire. I remember when I first tried it I only got smoke and I was 8 years old at the time. Keep practicing that and I'll try to wake your father up, Madara said, only to roll his eyes when he looked at the still unconscious form of Minato. Yash. My throat is burning a little though, Naruto said. Don't worry about that for now, Kit, I'm already healing it, Kyuubi said in response. Thanks, Q-chan, Naruto replied with a smile, before he started building up chakra in his lungs. Time skip, 3 days later. Mei Terumi and her 2 bodyguards Ao and Chojuro. Ao was wearing a talisman in each ear with the kanji for a humble form of Tahir written on them twice on each side. He was wearing a striped shirt and pants with seemingly the same pattern, with a green robe over them. His blue hair was short at the back and long and spiked up the front. Chojuro was wearing square, black-rimmed glasses connected to what appear to be headphones, a blue pinstriped shirt and camouflage pattern pants. Also, instead of being on his head, his forehead protector on the front of his holster, which he uses to carry his double-handed sword Hiramakarei. The sword itself is wrapped in bandages, leaving only the double hilt visible. He also has shuriken holsters strapped onto each of his legs. They were walking through the forest just outside of Kiri. They were about to meet with a trusted informant who supposedly had some important regarding Yagura. Are you still sure we can trust this guy, Terumi-sama? Chojuro said. I believe so, Chojuro-kun, she responded with a smile. Well, what if we are wrong? This guy could have brought an ambush alone, Chojuro said. What, are you scared, kid? The man known as Ao said, causing said man to glare and the woman to snicker. We're almost there. Even though I trust this man, it wouldn't hurt to keep a lookout and your guard. As the 3 of them walked into a clearing, there was a man already waiting. Upon seeing him, Chojuro asked, is that him, Mei? It certainly is, Chojuro, she replied. Ohio Eiji-san, Mei said. Ohio Mei-san, the man known as Eiji said. So what's this information you've got for me, Eiji-san? That's when a small smirk graced the man's lips. This didn't go unnoticed by the others. Unfortunately, I've got nothing for you, except for this. At that very moment, about 50 shinobi jumped into the clearing and surrounded them. They were all standing there snickering. When one of them shouted, "We have our orders, man, kill them." Mei was the first to react. She immediately did some hand seals and shouted, "Yotan, Yogen Gyorobu, 1." She opened her mouth and several globs of lava came out of her mouth, headed straight for the enemy shinobi, instantly killing 5 of the unlucky ones who didn't even try to get out of the way, as the rest of them dodged out of the way. She took a quick look at Ao and Chojuro and saw that they were holding their own. As she was about to go through more seals, a couple of enemy shinobi came up to, and just as they were about to stab her with their kunai, she pulled out her own and managed to block both before stabbing one, instantly killing him. The other one swung low and tried to get her in the stomach, but luckily she saw it coming and managed to block it with her kunai and then punched the shinobi in the face. Before he could recover, she stabbed him in the heart. When he fell to the ground, she quickly went through some hand seals and shouted, "Yotan, Yogen Kanketsusen, 2." Instantly, as the name suggests, a geyser made from lava erupted from the ground and advanced into the ground, instantly killing about 10 shinobi. Meanwhile, Ao and Chojuro, although skilled, were struggling to keep so many shinobi from doing them any harm. As more and more shinobi kept trying to stab, kick, or punch them, Chojuro, even though he was highly skilled in kenjutsu, was the first to realize they didn't stand a chance. No matter how talented the 3 of them were, they were most likely going to die. "Mei-sama, we need to get out of here, now," was all he could say as suddenly an ungodly amount of killing intent, washed over the clearing. All the men started to shake and fall onto the hands and knees. Many couldn't take it as they passed out from the pressure. All the others that managed to stay conscious soon started having visions of them dying. What is this killing intent? It's so strong it couldn't possibly be human, could it? Mei thought as she trying to pull herself together. That's when she started to hear the screaming. When she looked up, she saw something she didn't think was possible. A little blonde kid with that red chakra. She thought as she witnessed the kid punching one of the shinobi, who went flying backwards and ended up smashing his skull into a tree. "He looks like a fox." That's when she noticed a purple-haired woman wearing a mask was quickly killing shinobi left and right. And who's that woman? Whoever she is, I'm thankful they're both here. When the Ki died down, Mei noticed that the red chakra that was surrounding the little boy was receding back into his body. When Ao and Chojuro recovered, they quickly ran over to Mei and asked her if she was okay. She responded by saying, "I'm fine, Ao." Chojuro, while grabbing Chojuro's hand and pulling herself up. "That's good. What the hell was that?" Ao asked as he looked over at the blonde kid and the woman. "Whatever it was," she said, shaking head. "I'm sure we are about to find out." "Hey, are you 3 all right?" said the purple-haired woman. "Hi. We are fine," Mei responded, still highly alert. "I wonder if they're friendly or are they a new foe?" "Who are you two?" Mei asked as she looked at the blonde kid. "He looks familiar. I wonder where I've seen him before," she mused. We are from Konoha," said the purple-haired woman. "Konoha? Why are you all the way out here?" Mei asked. "We've come to help you," said the blonde kid, who was bouncing up and down on his toes. "I hope she remembers me," he thought. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. And this," he said, pointing toward the purple-haired woman, "is my friend. You can call her Nico-san." "Nico-san? By the look of her, she's definitely a member of Konoha ANBU, and Naruto Uzumaki. I've heard that name before." Wait, Mei thought, taking another look at the blonde kid. "Particularly his whisker marks. I remember now. Naruto Uzumaki, I remember you. You were that kid who wanted to become Hokage," she said with a smile as the blonde kid, now known to her as Naruto, smiled at her and nodded. "Hi, I'm glad you remembered, Mei-chan," he said with a smile. "Hi, now do you two mind explaining to us what you're doing here?" "We were told Konoha wasn't going to help us," Mei said as she eyed them suspiciously. "Konoha isn't going to help?" Terumi-san, Nico said. We're not even supposed to be here, but she said as she looked at Naruto. She pointed at Naruto. Ran off because he wanted to help you and I didn't really have any other choice but to follow him. Naruto-kun Mei said as she looked at him. Why did you come here? You're only 4 years old, you have no place in a war. Mei said. That's where you're wrong, Terumi-san. Even if Konoha won't help you, Naruto-kun is all that you will need to win this war. All you have to do is trust us. You'll be amazed at what Naruto-kun can do. Nico said. You see, he may be only 4 years old, but he's actually rather talented, not to mention powerful. Nico said. Ha ha ha, you're joking, right? This little snot-nosed brat, powerful, ha ha ha. Hey! Naruto shouted. I happen to be a Jinchuriki. Instantly shutting the man up. Well, that explains the chakra and the killing intent, Mei thought. After a few more seconds of awkward silence, and glaring done by Ao and Chojuro, Yugao decided to speak up. Turning her attention to Naruto, she said. Naruto, why did you tell them that? Because Nico-chan, I wanted them to know that I came here to beat the Sanbai Jinchuriki. Easily, he finished in his head. TCH. You're just a kid. Yagura has plenty of experience over you and full control of the Sanbai's power. Chojuro said. Ano, who says that I don't have full control of the Kyuubi's power? Naruto asked him. You couldn't possibly have full control of the Kyuubi's power, you're way too young for that. That's where you're wrong, Chojuro-san. I do have full control of Kyuchan's power and I also have a Kekii Genkai. Even thought he lied about that, kind of, they didn't need to know that. This information definitely surprised the 3 Kiri shinobi. Why you have a Kekii Genkai? Ao asked. However, it was who answered first. That's not really surprising, Konoha does pride itself on their Kekii Genkai. Hi, but I don't just have any Kekii Genkai, I have the Sharingan. He said. Madara, getting the hint, activated the Sharingan, revealing to everyone a fully evolved Sharingan with 3 tomo in each eye. So that's Konoha's famous Sharingan. Mused Mei. Okay, so you have a Kekii Genkai, Chojuro said. That still doesn't prove to us that you have full control of Kyuubi's power. Well, there is only one way to prove to you that I have full control, but I can't do it unless you want to see a 50 feet 9-tailed demon fox running around. Naruto said with a smile. No, I don't. Chojuro responded. His left eye twitching slightly. Is there a place, a little more private, that we could talk? Yugao asked. Of course, Nico-san was it? Mei asked, only to get a nod in response. Come with us, she said as she turned around and started walking away. A few minutes later they were walking through the forest and Naruto was having a conversation. I really wish you hadn't told about the Sharingan, Naruto. You know, I've told you that a shinobi never reveals all of his secrets. Minato said. I actually think it was a good idea. When he showed them that he had a Kekii Genkai, it showed them that they could trust him, at least a little. Madara said. Yeah, I guess you're right, but if Konoha ever found out, we'd be in trouble. And I'm still not sure if I trust Yugao enough not to tell anyone what she knows about us. Minato said. But what if I can get Mei-chan to promise not tell anyone too? Naruto asked. Give it a shot, Naruto, but it probably won't be easy. And remember, she may seem friendly, but you can never trust a shinobi, even if they are your friends, Naruto. Minato said with some degree of seriousness in his voice. Terumi-san, they heard a voice shout. Yugao instantly pulling her katana out and going on guard. When 2 jumped out of 2 of trees surrounding them. Ohio Goro-san, Ichiro-san. Did you meet the informant, the man named Ichiro asked. Yes, we did, but it seems he was working for Yagura since it turned out to be an ambush. Mei said. What? Screamed both of the men. Like I said, it was an ambush and we probably would have died if it weren't for these two. Said, pointing at Naruto and Yugo. They saved our lives. She finished. How did they do that? The man named Goro asked, eyeing Naruto. I don't know, Mei said. But I'll find out when we get back to headquarters. Oh, here we are, she said as she stopped walking when she saw what appeared to be a cave. This cave, Mei explained, is actually a tunnel that leads directly to the rebel headquarters, HQ. I will ask that you keep this a secret since no one on Yagura's side knows about this. She said, looking at Yugo and Naruto only to receive a nod from both of them. About 10 minutes later they appeared in a building that had several people walking around, looking at papers. But most of them were training. This is our rebel HQ. Now if you two don't mind, she said, looking at Yugo and Naruto, we can go to my office and talk privately. Okay, was all Yugo said as she was still looking around taking it all in. Meanwhile, Naruto watching those who were training in Kenjutsu. That's what Kenjutsu looks like. Naruto, watch their movements and their stances, because that's what you will learn one day, Minato said. Naruto gave him a mental nod and focused on their movements, before Yugo grabs his hand and says, come on, Naruto-kun. This way, as she led him into an office and have him in one of the chairs. So, please explain everything from the beginning, Mei said with a smile. What do you want to know first? Naruto asked her. Let's start with you being a Jinchuriki, she said, smiling. Hi. Well, as I told you before, I'm the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, he said as she nodded. The Yondaime Hokage was the one who sealed it inside of me, in order to save the village. He paused. Seeing her nod, he took that as a sign to continue. When I was 4, I was being attacked by some villagers when I met the Kyuubi. A few months later, in order to protect myself from the villagers, I asked Kyuubi-chan if there was a way for me to control all of power. She told me that there was only one way for me to do it, and I did it, he explained. Mei seemed deep in thought as replayed what she heard in her mind. Attacked by villagers, and he was 4, disgusting. He seems to be telling the truth. And like he said earlier, if he were to prove to me that he could control the power of the Kyuubi, we'd see a 50 feet 9-tailed fox running around. Okay, Naruto, I believe that you're telling the truth. Naruto smiled in response and started to rub the back of head. Kawaii, both women thought. Naruto-chan, Mei said. Do you mind telling me about the Sharingan? Knowing that people with Kekkai Genkai don't really like giving away information on it, even if he is 4 years old. Mei-chan, Naruto said with a frown. I wish I could tell you everything, but all I'm going to tell you is that it's fully evolved. I thought as much, Mei thought. Okay. Naruto, but even if you have all these abilities, do you really think you stand a chance? I mean, Yagura may only be the Sanbai Jinchuriki, but he is the Mizukage. He has, not only the power of the Sanbai, but all of the jutsu he knows as well, Mei said. I know, Mei-chan, Naruto said with a smile. I'm counting on it. I'll be able to use my Sharingan to help me out with that. And I know that I may not stand a very good chance against him, but I hope I won't be alone and you will be there with me. And the same goes for you, Nico-san. Of course I'll be there, Naruto-kun, Yugo said. Same goes for me. I wouldn't miss this for the world, Mei said. But before we get to that, have you been training? Mei asked. She really didn't want him to get involved, considering the fact that he's so young. But she could utilize the power of the little Jinchuriki and end the war, while she will do whatever it takes to do so. Hi, I have been training for the last couple of months. And I have only just started my elemental training a couple of days ago, he said, sounding excited. Elemental training, huh? What elements do you have? Mei asked. I have 3, wind, fire, and lightning. Naruto said. 3. How is that possible? The majority of all jounins don't have 3 elements. For Kami's sake, you're only 4 years old. Mei said, a little exasperated. This kid is like some kind of chibi god or something. Who the hell has been training him? Shaking her head of her thoughts, she asked. So what element are you currently training in? Fire. Naruto responded. Since I've only started training in it about 3 days ago, I've only been able to learn the Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. He said, smiling. But Yugo was a little confused. I've never seen him train, she thought. Then it suddenly clicked. Unless. Naruto Yugo asked. When we're training, I haven't seen you do it? Well, you know how I was always awake before on our way here? He asked, only for Yugo to nod in response. Well, the thing is, I never actually slept. While you were sleeping, I was training. Just as I thought. Yugo thought. What else do you know, Naruto? Mei asked. Naruto considered the question for a moment. He had been told that he couldn't reveal everything about him. But to get Mei to trust him, he just had to show off his power, just like anything other kid would. As Mei was waiting patiently for him to answer, Naruto just raised him right palm, facing upwards, focused chakra into it. And a split second later there was perfectly formed green sphere in his hand. This is called the Rasengan. Naruto said. It's an A-rank jutsu created by the Yondaime Hokage himself. A little pride evident in his voice. The Rasengan interesting, with all I know about him, being a Jinchuriki, having the Sharingan and now, having the very jutsu that the Kiroi Senko used to wipe out half of Iwa's army. If only he was a few years older. Shaking her head of those thoughts, she was about to ask another question. Knocking was heard coming from the door. Enter, Mei said. The door opened to reveal Ao. Sorry to interrupt, Terumi-san, but some of our scouts have returned with information you really need to hear. He said, with a sense urgency added to it. All right, she said as she stood. You too, please come with us, since you're going to be a part this war you will need to hear this. Mei said. As they walked out of the office, they noticed that everyone had stopped what they were doing and were all standing there looking at the scouts. As Mei, Naruto and Yugo walked past everyone, they all noticed that everyone was staring at Naruto and Yugo with curiosity and confusion evident on their faces. Alright everyone, before we hear what the scouts have to say, I would like to introduce you to Naruto Uzumaki. She said, pointing to Naruto. And one of Konohagakure's ANBU members, Nico-san, she said, pointing to Yugo. They are here to help us with the war. The entire room was silent for a few moments before a man decided to ask. What the hell, he's just a kid, how the fuck could he possibly help us? And suddenly, it was like damn broke. Every shouting random questions, accusing Konoha of being fucking bastards, and stuff like that. It all continued for at least a minute or so before Naruto unleashed his ki that flooded the room, instantly causing everyone to freeze. A few of them even fell to their knees. Naruto continued unleashing his ki for a few moments before Minato told him stop. He instantly stopped, and everyone took deep breaths. Mei was the first to speak. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She told him with a smile. Before looking at everyone in the room. As you can all clearly see, she said. He is no ordinary child. He is in fact the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. She paused to that piece of information sink in as everyone paled at the news. And she went on, he also happens to have Konoha's famous Sharingan. When everyone heard that, they were a little relieved. They knew that because he had Kekkei Genkai he was definitely on their side. Although some still had their doubts, seeing as he was a Jinchuriki because Yagura was one as well. One such person decided to voice her thoughts. How do we know we can trust him? I mean, he may have a Kekkei Genkai but he's a Jinchuriki just like Yagura. The woman said, many nodding in agreement with her. I am not, Naruto said with a childlike defiance plastered all over his face. I'm totally different, he said, waving his arms around in a comical fashion. I will never be like him. I couldn't a verb like him. He said with emphasis on the words could and never. I may be like him, but I do not like what he is doing, and I will put an end to it. He said. When he finished speaking, everyone had the same thought running through their heads: such maturity and conviction does not belong to a 4-year-old. Now then, let's listen to what the scouts have to say, shall we? May said. And then a woman stepped up. Yes, well, as per our assignment, we met up with our informant in the north-west sector of the city. He told us something rather interesting. He told us that when Yagura sent his own scouts to the area where Toromi-sama, Ao, and Chojuro were supposed to be ambushed, he found out that all 50 of his men were completely wiped out, the woman said. Everyone in the room gasped at the news, but everyone remained silent. You can thank these two for that, May said, pointing at Naruto and Yugo. Our informant also told us that Yagura is gathering all of his shinobi and he plans to attack us in 2 days' time from the southwest. She finished. As May looked around the room, no one said anything. They knew that in 2 days' time the war would end. They knew that in 2 days' time they would either live or die. We should run then, a man at the back yelled out, so everyone could hear him. Everyone in the room gasped and turned toward his direction. Naruto was the first to speak. No. Everyone turned back to him. You should not run, this war needs to end, and as everyone now knows it will in 2 days' time. If you run now, all of what you have done in the past will have been for nothing, he said. Meanwhile, Yugo was staring at him while a small blush appeared on her cheeks as a single thought ran through her head: Yandame-sama. If you run, all of your friends and loved ones will die for nothing. In 2 days' time we fight for the survival of not just ourselves but for the survival Kirigakure. In 2 days' time Nico-san and I, from Konoha, will fight alongside all of you. We aren't even supposed to be, but instead of staying with our loved ones, we came here to help our fellow shinobi in their time of need, he said, pausing to take a breather. In 2 days' time I am willing to sacrifice my very short life and willingly fight alongside Mei-chan in order to bring an end to my fellow Jinchuriki's tyranny. In 2 days' time we will win this war. Believe it, he said, holding a V sign with his fingers and having a goofy smile on his face. For a few moments everyone stayed silent while they were all thinking the same. Is this kid seriously 4 years old? However, what no one knew was that Minato had been telling him what to say. Yes, that was a fine speech if I do say so myself, Minato said sheepishly. Yeah, it was, but the staring is starting to annoy me, Naruto told him. As everyone digested everything Naruto had said, they instantly started clapping and cheering. Mei, however, knelt down in front of Naruto and gave him a kiss on his left cheek. This made Naruto go bright red and scratch his cheek with his left index finger, and turn his away in pure embarrassment. This made Mei scream out kawaii before hugging him. Without realizing it, she had placed Naruto's head right between her D-cup breasts. And thanks to all of the perverted talkings and images of Kyuubi and Madara, that made Naruto's cheeks go from pink to dark red in an instant, before his world went black. When Naruto woke up a few minutes later, he found himself on a bed. He blinked for a few moments before he remembered why he was there. The heavy blush suddenly returning. I'll be remembering that moment for a long time, he said to no one in particular, only to get a response. Hi, I think you will, RGHH. Naruto jumped as he looked to see Yugo sitting in a chair looking at him through her mask. The two of you made a lot of men jealous with what she did in there. Including me, bad Yugo hentai. Bad. Shaking her head of those thoughts, she went on. That was a rather impressive speech you made, Naruto-kun. You actually reminded me of the yandame saying some of the things you did. Really? He said, rubbing the back of his head and smiling sheepishly. Yeah, I guess I did. I mean, my father was the one who was telling me what to say. Immediately realizing what he said, he put his hand over his mouth, as if to stop himself from saying anything else. Damn it, he thought. As all three of them in his mind could only nod in agreement. Why, your father, What do you mean your father? Yugo said. Still trying to process the information Naruto let slip. Why am I so surprised, they do look the same. Realizing he had no other choice, Naruto said. Hi Yugo-chan, my full name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Although if you add the fact that I can use the Sharingan, I'd be Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha. Hi, but technically, you're not an Uchiha, so it's just Uzumaki Namikaze, Yugo said. Well, we'll talk about your father later, right now Mei wants to talk to you, come on Naruto-chan. She said, standing up. Naruto blinked for a few moments before realization dawned on his face. She just called me Naruto-chan. He thought. Instantly pouting at Yugo. Yugo-chan. He whined as he too stood up. Yugo just laughed as they walked out of the room. A minute later they walked inside of Mei's office, Yugo entering first. Ohayo Nico-san, is Naruto-kun awake yet? Mei said as she saw Yugo walk in. Hi, here he is. Yugo said, pointing to Naruto as he walked in. Ohayo Naruto-kun, she said with a smile. When Naruto was about to respond, he took one look at her before he remembered what happened and blushed before stuttering, "Oh, Ohayo Mmac-chan," causing said woman giggle at his reaction. Now, Mei said, turning serious. When she saw she had them at attention tomorrow. We will be heading out to the southwest sector of the village to meet Yagura and his forces. The two of you will be coming with me to meet Yagura, considering you want to fight him as well, Naruto-kun. We leave tomorrow morning. Seeing them nod, she turned to Naruto and spoke. So Naruto-kun, did you like what happened to you earlier? Only for Naruto's face to turn red like a tomato, and Yugo to facefault. Of course I did, Mei-chan, I mean after all you are drop-dead gorgeous. He said while inwardly thinking thanks for that one Madara, only to receive a HN. And a mental thumbs up. Now it was Mei's turn to turn beet red. If only he was older, she thought, fighting down her blush. Changing the subject, she said. Now I believe that, until tomorrow morning we should all do some training. Seeing them both nod, she said. Naruto-kun, I want you to train with me so that at the very least we can come up with a plan to take out Yagura. I'm sorry, Mei-chan, but I don't really want you getting involved with my fight against Yagura. What? You can't be serious, Naruto. Mei shouted. Why the hell not, she asked. And there better be a good reason. It's simple really, Mei-chan. I think it would be easier to fight with the power of Kyuubi from the start. He said. Even if he is the Mizuki, he can't be as powerful as the Sanbai, so if I use 4 or 5 tails of the Kyuubi, it should be over pretty quickly. And besides, I don't want you or Nico-chan getting hurt when I use my demonic powers. He finished. Both women couldn't help but smile at that. Naruto-kun, we are trained shinobi, we can take care of ourselves, you know? Trained or not, I don't think the two of you should get in the middle of a demonic fight. Naruto said with conviction. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to train my Sharingan. He said as he turned around and walked out the door. Leaving two very perplexed women behind. As Naruto made his way back to his room, Madara decided to speak up. Alright boy, since you want me to teach you about the Sharingan, let's start with what my Sharingan can actually do. Now as you know, there are a few things that my Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan EMS is capable of doing. For example, you already know the space/time jutsu and Amaterasu. Now there are 2 other things my Sharingan can do. First is a jutsu Tsukuyomi. This jutsu is the most powerful genjutsu in existence. Tsukuyomi requires eye contact to be performed. When executed, the technique traps the target in an illusion that is completely controlled by the user. When you use the technique, you can torture the person all the while changing the perception of time, making the torture last for days when in fact it only lasts a few seconds. Madara pauses to let it sink in. Second is a jutsu called Kamui. By focusing the Manjikyu Sharingan on any particular point, you can force that point to collapse in on itself, ultimately sending it into another dimension. He finished. As Madara finished speaking, Naruto had made his way into his room and was currently sitting on his bed, processing all the information that Madara had just told him. Okay, am I going to learn any of them? Naruto asked, getting excited. You're going to learn Kamui. First of all, what we are going to is obviously activate the Sharingan. A few moments later. Okay, done. Now what I want you to do is look at one of the legs on the chair over there and focus on it. When Naruto found the chair with his Sharingan active, he did what he was told and focused on one of the legs. Now what do I do? He asked, still focusing on the chair. Now say Kamui, Madara told him. Kamui, he said. And instantly everything in his vision except the chair suddenly became blurry. As Naruto was focusing on the leg of the chair, a black spot started to appear in his vision, and he saw that everything surrounding the black spot started to merge with the spot in a swirling pattern. That's when Naruto's Sharingan started spinning. When the jutsu ended, Naruto immediately saw that the chair was no longer there. That was Kamui, Madara said cheerfully. Awesome, he shouted out loud. But then something clicked. Hey, where did the chair go? He asked them. I think Mei's hug affected you more than I thought, Madara said, shaking his head. Remember what Madara said, son. When you focus on one point, it and everything within the vicinity will disappear with it, Minato said. Oh yeah, Naruto told them, causing everyone to sweat drop. Knock knock. As Naruto turned toward the door, he heard a woman's voice. Naruto-kun, it's Mei, can I come in? Hi Mei-chan, come on in, Naruto said, walking over to the bed. When Mei came into the room, she noticed that something was out of place. That's interesting, she thought. I could have sworn there was a chair in this room. Shaking her head of these thoughts, she looked at Naruto, who was trying his best to fight down the blush that was creeping its way onto his face. Kawaii, Mei thought. Hee, I take it he liked the hug. Shaking her head of those thoughts, Naruto, it's time we do some training, okay? Mei said. Okay Mei-chan, where's Nico-chan? Naruto asked. Oh, she's already doing some kenjutsu training, now Mei said as she walked over to the bed Naruto was sitting on, and sat down beside. For starters, Naruto-kun, can you please give a complete list of all jutsu you know, so I can know what to expect in the fight? Naruto, remember what I've told you, deception is a shinobi's greatest ally, don't tell her everything you know, okay? Minato said. Okay Mei-chan, you already know about the Kyuubi, the Rasengan, and Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Naruto said, the only other jutsu I know is Kagebunshin no Jutsu. I suppose he is only 4 years old, so he hasn't been training for that long, and besides with the Kyuubi, he probably doesn't need to learn much anyway. Well that's good, she said. When something clicked inside her head, how many Kagebunshin can you do, she asked. Naruto thought for a moment. About 200 of them, he said with a smile. Wow, 200, and that number is only going to grow as he gets older and stronger, Mei thought. Hey, have you tried doing the Rasengan with all those clones at once? 200 clones doing a Rasengan each. Wow, now that I would love to see when we get back to Konoha, Minato said with a goofy grin on his face. Yeah, that would be so cool, Naruto said. No, I haven't done that yet, but that would be awesome, he yelled, throwing his fists into the air. Mei couldn't help but giggle. He may be the strongest kid in all 5 nations, but he's still a kid, she thought. Okay, let's go do some training like everyone else, okay? Mei said. Hi Mei-chan, Naruto said, getting of the bed. 2 days later. Mizukage-sama. Our scouts tell us that the rebel faction is overpowering us, a man yelled. They don't matter, we will win this, he growled to the man, before turning to another. Any sign of Terumi yet, he asked. Hi Mizuki-sama, she's actually the reason we're being overpowered, along with what seems to be a Konoha shinobi and an. The man trailed off. And a what? Yagura asked impatiently. Well, it seems that there's a 4-year-old boy with them, and he seems to being rather well, You know, for a 4-year-old, the man laughed nervously. A 4-year-old, he asked disbelieving. Well, if he's on their side he must have a Kekkai Genkai, but Terumi isn't stupid, is she? Why would she put a child, a 4-year-old no less, on the front lines of a war? I was going to face her anyway, might as well check him out too. And the Konoha shinobi as well, they will make this even harder, he thought to himself. Alright, I'm going out there, he said to his shinobi. You're mine, Terumi. Ha ha, he cackled to himself, whilst in his head you can see a chibi version of himself dancing over a dead Mei. Bloodline War Frontlines, a few minutes later. Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu. Naruto shouted as a massive ball of fire came out of his mouth, heading directly towards an already wounded Kiri shinobi, instantly killing him. Yotan, Yogen Kanketsusen Mei said, as a geyser of lava came out of the ground, instantly killing a group of unlucky Kiri shinobi. Terumi-sama, we are overpowering them, but there is still too many of them. Ao shouted to her as he was defending himself. Hi, Ao, we just need to hold them off until Yagura comes, Mei said. Tajuokage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto shouted, 100 clones popping into existence. YOSH. Guys, let's try this, Naruto told his clones. YOSH was the general response, before they all held up their right palms and activated the Rasengan. Everyone in the vicinity, except for Mei, was a little perplexed by the fact that a 4-year-old just summoned 100 clones of himself. But when they saw each and every one of them had a glowing green ball in their hands, well, most of them started to freak out, while the other more battle-experienced ones were just curious. YOSH. IKKU. Naruto yelled as he started running toward the surprised Kirin. His clones close behind. Rasengan. He yelled as he hit a number of shinobi in the leg, completely destroying them. Being 4 years old, he couldn't really hit them high enough to effectively kill them. But that didn't matter, they couldn't move and they would slowly die of blood loss. That's all of them in this area, Mei-sama, Chojuro said. Hi Chojuro-kun, now all we need to do is just need to find Yagura, so we can finally finish this, Mei said. You will die today, Yagura, she thought to herself before she glanced at Naruto, and if I don't kill you he will. Terumi-sama, what do we do now? Ao asked, as everyone was catching a breather. Well, obviously, we need to look for Yagura Aokun. Mei replied. That won't be necessary, Terumi-san, a voice was heard. Everyone in the group turned around to see Yagura standing there with 2 bodyguards. You bloodline freaks have stood in my way for far too long, and today that ends, Yagura said with a cocky smirk. Without even thinking about it, Mei leapt into action, going through a set of hand seals and shouting, Yotan, Yogen Gyorobu. And several globs of lava came out of her mouth. Yagura saw them coming and immediately jumped out of the way and started going through hand seals of his own. But before he had the chance, Mei came at him with surprising speed and a kunai in her right hand. Before she could strike, Yagura pulled out a kunai of his own in his left hand and defended the strike that was aiming toward his heart, and threw a punch aiming for her face. Before it connected, Mei blocked it with her free hand and swiped at him the kunai that was still in her right hand. Yagura managed to block it with his kunai. He then thrust his right leg up and managed to kick Mei in the chest, causing her to go backwards. Using the momentum gained from the kick, Mei flipped backwards, and when she saw Yagura going through hand seals, she threw her kunai to interrupt the sequence, causing Yagura to deflect it with a kunai he had hidden up his sleeve. With her speed, she jumped back into battle, throwing a punch with her right hand, causing Yagura to block with his right hand and throw a punch with his left, aiming for her jaw. He missed completely though, as Mei crouched down and delivered a spinning kick, causing Yagura to jump and flip backwards. Mei didn't give him any time to recover as she jumped toward him, thrusting her right leg out, attempting to kick him. She missed, however, as he managed to duck down in the nick of time and then jump up, catching her with an uppercut with his left hand, and then gave her a right hook. Using the momentum she gained from the hook, she spun around and tried to deliver a spinning kick to his chest, only for her foot to meet his arms as he put them in an X position to block the kick. But due to the force behind the kick, he ended up being forced backwards. Before he came to a stop, Mei came at him with a kick to his midsection. Yagura managed to knock the kick away and was about to deliver a punch, only for his arm to meet the sharp end of a kunai that ended up cutting him from the wrist to the elbow. After the cut, Mei gave him a punch to the nose, instantly breaking it, causing Yagura to stumble backwards. With his watery eyes and slightly blurred vision, he couldn't react in time to Mei capitalizing on his current state and giving him a hard punch to the jaw. Yagura fell to the ground, spitting out blood and a couple of teeth. Damn it, how is she beating me? He thought to himself, starting to think about a way he could beat her. Meanwhile, Mei was standing over him with a smirk on her face as she started to catch her breath. I can't believe this, I'm actually beating him, at taijutsu at least, and luckily there's no water around so he can't use ninjutsu, so until he uses it I'm fine. She thought to herself with a smile. The smile faltered, however, as Ki washed over her and she saw Yagura start to transform. Well, shit. Use me, Yagura. Use my power to kill this bitch. Use me now. Sanbai screamed. Yagura could only agree with Sanbai. I guess it's the only way, he thought. I will win, Terumi, he screamed as he activated Sanbai's chakra. Oh shit, Mei thought. In Naruto, you up? Mei told him, a little shaken up. Oh okay, Naruto said as he started to freak out. It's alright son, you can do this, just activate Kyuubi's chakra and you will be fine, Minato said. 4 tails should be enough to beat this fool, Kit. Kyuubi said, doing its best to encourage him. HN. Go boy, show him your power. Madara said. A sense of impending doom came over the now demonic Yagura as Naruto activated Kyuubi's chakra. Damn it! Sanbai screamed to Yagura. I can't believe I actually forgot that. What the hell, Sanbai, he's a Jinchuriki, isn't he? Yagura said, only to receive a mental nod from Sanbai. Which one does he hold? Yagura asked, not liking the odds. Kyuubi was the response he got. Nanny! Yagura screamed. And you forgot to mention this, why? You started fighting that Terumi woman. Sanbai answered sheepishly. Well, what the hell do I do now? Yagura growled out. Look, Yagura, the chances are that, since he's so young, the boy is only able to use one tail, like he is now. Sanbai explained. Yagura was slightly happy about that statement. He could definitely handle one tail. That happiness, however, turned to fear as he, along with everyone else, saw the blonde disappear behind a dome of dark red chakra. What everyone saw next shook them to their very core. In the sky was an image of the Kyuubi's face, its blood red, slitted eyes looking down at them with pure malice. After a few moments, the fox head shot back down, creating a crater on impact to the ground. When the dome of chakra dissipated, what everyone saw made their skin crawl. Sitting in the crater was a miniature Kyuubi with 4 tails violently thrashing through the air. Ha ha ha, that's it, Kit, show the 3-tailed fool who's in charge now. This feels really weird. Naruto said. You'll get used to it, Kit. Kyuubi told him. If you say so, but what do I do now? Well, right now, even though you don't need to use them, you have a serious amount of speed and power. And as you're doing right now, you can also control your tails. She said with a small growl. Hehe, Naruto chuckled. Meanwhile, Yagura was conversing with Sanbai. He's young, you said, he'll only have control over one tail, you said. Yagura said with his left eyebrow twitching comically. Shut it, wimp. It's impressive, though not really surprising. I guess Kyuubi-sama didn't want a weak container, but for one so young to have so much power, there is definitely something special about him. Sanbai mused. I don't really care about that, what the hell do we do now? The Mizukage screamed. Ha ha ha, what do you mean, what do we do now? We can't do anything, team, the kid is far more powerful than we are, you're on your own with this one, you're as good as dead, can't say it was nice knowing you. Sanbai said amusedly. Nanny, why aren't you helping me? And what do you mean I'm as good as dead, if I die you die and all that crap, right? Yagura asked, confused. Wrong. Sanbai exclaimed, I just said that Tio make you feel better about your life, ha ha, when you die I will be reborn a few years later. Ha 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 ha, Sanbai went on cheerfully. TCH. I need to think of something soon or I'm as good as dead, Yagura thought to himself. If I stay and fight the blonde kid, I will die, if I don't use Sanbai's chakra and fight Terumi. There's a 50% chance that I could win, and if I do then there's still the blonde kid. And if I stay and fight there's no way I can get away, so the only thing I can think of is running, he mused to himself. Before he could even think about taking a step, one of Naruto's tails reached out and grabbed him around the throat, holding him in place. Ah fuck, Yagura thought as the tail lifted his demonic form into the air and then slammed him into the ground. After a couple more times, the tail let him go, only for two tails to wrap around his ankles and lift him into the air, only to slam him back down. Son of a bitch, Yagura thought as he was repeatedly slammed onto the ground. When he was lifted into air he expected to be slammed back down, only for a demonic fist to connect to his demonic jaw, instantly breaking it. Naruto threw another punch, hitting him in the chest at the same time him let go of Yagura's ankles, causing said person to fly backwards. When he hit the ground, the momentum caused his body to bounce and roll along the ground for a few meters, until he came to a stop in front of a nearby building. While Yagura was slowly recovering, thanks to Sanbai, everyone had different thoughts going through their minds. Wow! Yagura is taking one hell of a beating, although it looks like the Kyuubi is affecting Naruto-chan's lust for blood, May thought. So this is what it's like to see Jinchuriki fight each other, can't really say it's entertaining, of course the Kyuubi Jinchuriki will win, still a part of me wishes that this was entertaining to watch. I mean, back in my day, were the thoughts going through Ao's mind while at the same time May felt a shiver go up her spine when she had the sudden urge to melt Ao's balls off. Kami. I hope Naruto-kun is alright after this, he's basically torturing Yagura. I hope the Kyuubi isn't affecting him, no telling what this could be doing to him. Yugo thought. Okay Naruto, it's time to use Baijidama, Kyuubi instructed the blonde. YOSH, Naruto exclaimed. Just tell me how to use it. Remember what I told you, hold your paws out in front of you in an O formation and gather the required positive and negative chakra. Now we don't need too much, you only need to take out one guy, not half of the village. Kyuubi explained. When Naruto did as instructed, a small ball of black chakra formed in between his hands. Good work, boy, now go ahead and swallow it. Kyuubi went on. UGH, it feels like it's burning my stomach, Naruto said as he swallowed it. Suck it up, kid, it will only last for a few moments, when it stops, you'll feel it come back up, when it does, make sure you're aiming for Yagura or we will have to do this again, although next time it will be on a moving target. When it was time, Naruto could feel the chakra coming up his throat. When it entered his mouth he felt his cheeks bulge. So he did the only thing he could and opened his mouth. Everyone watched as a Rasengan-sized ball of chakra shot out of his mouth and flew towards the still down and healing Yagura. The Sanbai Jinchuriki could only watch in horror as the ball came towards him and hit him dead on. The ball didn't stop after it hit Yagura, it continued until it hit the building behind him and completely destroying it. Ha ha ha, well done child, that was Baijidama. Even when it's that small it's still very destructive, Kyuubi praised. Yeah, the destruction is awesome, that's why I based the Rasengan after it. Minato said smiling. And that is one of the reasons why I tried to use Kyuubi to destroy the Leaf Village. Madara said with a smirk. Right, well, I'm pretty sure you transform back now, Kit. Even though he was in his three-tailed form, he took a hit from a four-tailed Baijidama, so he's dead, no doubt about it. Kyuubi said. That WA's awesome. Naruto said out loud as he started turning back to normal. Naruto-kun. Yugo yelled as she ran forward and gave him a bone-crushing hug, placing his head firmly between her sizable bust. You did great, Naruto. She whispered in his ear. Nicely done, Kid, Ao said, with Chojuro nodding his head in agreement, not that Naruto could actually see him. I can't believe Yugura is actually dead, Mei said with an ear-to-ear smile on her face. That means the war is finally over. She went on as Yugo finally let go of Naruto so that he could breathe. And I can't believe we actually won. Ao said with a smirk on his face as he saw Mei give Naruto a bone-crushing hug of her own. Yeah, and I can't believe we had to rely on 4-year kid from Konoha. A jealous Chojuro said as he saw where Naruto's head was. Well, now we have to go spread the word that it's finally over, there's definitely still fighting going on. Mei said with a small blush as she let go of Naruto. A week of celebration went by and it was time for Naruto and Yuga to go back to Konoha. As the two Leaf Nin were standing at the gates of Kiri surrounded by Mei, Ao, and Chojuro, but they weren't looking at them, they were staring wide-eyed at the hundreds of people who had come to say goodbye to them. It's to be expected, Naruto-kun, you helped end the war, they probably think of you as a hero, Minato said. Not bad for a brat. Madara said appraisingly. Naruto-chan, Mei said, making Naruto turn his attention to her. I have a gift for you, she said reaching into her Kage robes. Close your eyes. She instructed. A little confused, Naruto did as he was told. The next moment, as he was wondering what was going on and what the gift was, he suddenly felt something soft press against his forehead and something lightly bouncing off his stomach. He opened his eyes and saw something he did not expect. He was looking right at Mei's impressive cleavage. Damn, that's a nice view, Madara said with a perverse giggle, with Minato nodding in agreement. Naruto, who didn't understand, just filed it away for later. As Mei pulled back, Naruto looked down at the object that was now dangling in front of his stomach. He took hold of it and looked at it inquisitively. It was a small silver, rectangular object that had 4 wavy lines on it. Naruto noticed that it was the same 4 lines that all the shinobi had around the foreheads. It was attached to a silver chain. That's a necklace, Naruto-chan, Mei said as she saw the curious look on his face. The next moment, though, she caught slightly off guard as Naruto rushed forward and hugged her. She, however, smiled as she hugged him back. I take it you like the necklace? She questioned as he let her go. He nodded in response before he looked down to take another look at it. I hope to see you again, Naruto-chan, Mei said with a sad smile. You will, Mei-chan, believe it, he exclaimed, although it was slightly muffled as his head was suddenly placed in her cleavage. I know how Jinchuriki are treated, Naruto, she whispered in his ear. If you ever want to leave Konoha, you will always be welcome here. You would do well to remember that, boy, just in case, Madara said. Agreeing with Madara, Naruto said, Arigato, Mei-chan, I'll definitely remember that, he said with a smile. Ahem, it's time to go, Naruto-kun, Yugo said impatiently as she had her arms crossed and was tapping her right foot. Hi, Nico-chan, he said, walking towards her and activating his eternal